Welcome to the Folktale Project. This is Dan Scholz. And welcome back to Bee, Princess of the Dwarfs, a story that we've spent all these last few weeks telling. And now we have something exciting. We're going to learn all about the marvelous adventure that George of the White Moor had when he was taken by the Slyphs. If you're not up to date, I recommend that you head back to Chapter 1 and dive in, and you'll learn all about Bee and George and the Slyphs and King Loc. And for those of you who have been keeping up with the story, last week we learned that George of the White Moor had been captured by the Slyphs. Well, we knew that already, but King Loc learned it after consulting with the learned Nur. Today, we're going to find out exactly what George has been up to. This is Chapter 16, which tells the marvelous adventure of George of the White Moor. King Loc did not laugh long. On the contrary, he hid the face of a very unhappy little man under his bedclothes. Thinking of George of the White Moor, prisoner of the Slyphs, he could not sleep the whole night. So, at that hour of the morning when the dwarfs who had a dairymaid for a friend go to milk the cows in her place while she sleeps like a log in her white bed, little King Loc revisited Nur in his deep well. "Nur," he said to him, "you did not tell me what he was doing among the Slyphs." The old Nur thought that King Loc had gone out of his mind, and he was not very frightened, because he was certain that King Loc, if he became mad, would certainly turn into a graceful, witty, amiable, and kindly madman. The madness of the dwarfs is gentle like their sanity, and delightfully fantastic. But King Loc was not mad. At least he was not more so than lovers usually are. "I mean George of the White Moor," he said to the old man, who had forgotten this young man as completely as possible. Then the learned Nur arranged the lenses and the mirrors in a careful pattern, but so intricate that it had the appearance of disorder, and showed to King Loc in the mirror the very shape of George of the White Moor, such as he was when the Slyphs carried him off. By properly choosing and skillfully directing the instruments, the dwarf showed the lovelorn king the whole adventure of the son of that countess who was warned of her end by a white rose. And here expressed in words is what the two little men saw in the reality of form and color. When George was carried away in the icy arms of the daughter of the lake, he felt the water press his eyes and his breast, and he thought it was death. Yet he heard songs that were like caresses, and he was steeped in a delicious coolness. When he opened his eyes again, he found himself in a grotto. It had crystal pillars in which the delicate tints of the rainbow shone. At the end of this grotto there was a large shell of mother-of-pearl, irradiated with the softest colors. It was a canopy, spreading over the throne of coral and weeds where sat the queen of the Slyphs. But the aspect of the sovereign of the waters had light softer than the sheen of mother-of-pearl and of crystal. She smiled at the child brought to her by her women, and let her green eyes rest on him long. "Friend," she said at length to him, "welcome in our world, where you will be spared every pain. For you no dry books or rough exercises, nothing coarse that recalls the earth and its labors, but only the songs, the dances, and the friendship of the Slyphs." So the blue-haired women taught the child music, waltzing, and 1,000 amusements. They loved to bind on his forehead the shells that starred their own locks. But he, thinking of his country, gnawed his fists in impatience. The years went by, and George's wish to see the earth again was unchanged and fervent. The hardy earth burnt by the sun, frozen by the snow, the native earth of sufferings and affections, the earth where he had seen, where he wished to see, Bee again. Now he was growing into a big boy, and a slight golden down ran along his upper lip. Boldness came to him with his beard, and one day he appeared before the Queen of the Slyphs, and having bowed, said to her, "My lady, I have come, if you deign to permit it, to take leave of you. I am going back to the Clarities." "Dear friend," the Queen answered, smiling, "I cannot grant you the leave you demand, for I keep you in my crystal manor to make you my friend." "My lady," George replied, "I feel unworthy of so great an honor." "This is the effect of your courtesy. No good knight ever thinks he has done enough to win the love of his lady. Further, you are yet too young to know all your merits. Be sure, dear friend, that nobody wishes you anything but good. You only have to obey your lady." "My lady, I love Bee of the Clarities. I will love no other lady but her." The queen, very pale but still more beautiful, cried, "A mortal woman, a gross daughter of men, this Bee. How can you love that?" "I do not know, but I know that I love her." "Very well, you will recover." And she detained the young man in the delights of the crystal manor. He did not know what a woman was, and was more like Achilles among the daughters of Lycomedes than Tannhauser in the Magic Mountain. So he wandered gloomily along the walls of the immense palace, looking for an opening to run away. But on all sides he saw the floods enclosing his luminous prison in their mute and magnificent kingdom. Through the transparent walls he watched the anemones bloom and the coral flowering, while purple, azure, and golden fish sparkled and sported above the delicate padmores and the glistening shells. These marvels did not interest him, but lulled by the delicious songs of the Slyphs he slowly felt his will give way and his whole soul dissolve. He was all slackness and indifference when he found by chance in a gallery of the palace an old worn book of vellum studded with copper nails. The book, found in a wreck at the bottom of the sea, dealt with the chivalry and ladies, and there were told at length stories of the adventures of heroes who went through the world fighting giants, redressing wrongs, protecting widows and assisting orphans for the love of justice and the honor of beauty. George flushed and grew pale in turn with admiration, shame, and anger at the tale of these splendid adventures. He could not contain himself. "I also," he cried, "will be a good knight. I also will go through the world punishing the wicked and helping the unhappy for the good of men in the name of my Lady Bee." Then his heart grew great with courage. He strode with drawn sword through the crystal mansions. The white women fled and vanished before him like the silvery waves of a lake. Their queen alone saw him come upon her unmoved. She fixed on him the cold look of her green eyes. He rushes to her. He cries, "Unclasp the charm which you have thrown on me. Open me the road to earth. I wish to fight in the sun like a knight. I wish to return to love, to suffer, and to struggle. Give me back the true life and the true light. Give me action and achievement. If you do not, I will kill you, wicked woman." She shook her head, smiling, to say no. She was beautiful and calm. George struck her with all his strength, but the sword broke against the glittering bosom of the Queen of the Slyphs. "Child!" she said, and she had him shut up in a kind of crystal funnel which formed a cell under the manor. Round it sharks prowled, opening their monstrous jaws armed with a triple row of sharp teeth. And it seemed as if at each charge they must break the thin partition of glass. It was not possible to sleep in this strange cell. The point of this submarine funnel rested on a rocky bottom, which was the dome of the furthest and the least known cavern of the empire of the Dwarfs. This is what the two little men saw in the course of an hour, as exactly as if they had followed George all the days of his life. The ancient Nur, having displayed the cell scene in all its sadness, spoke to King Loc much in the way of a showman when he has shown the magic lantern to little children. "King Loc," he said to him, "I have shown you all you wished to see, and your knowledge being perfect, I can add nothing to it. I am not anxious to show whether what you have seen has pleased you. It is enough that it is true. Science takes no account of pleasing or displeasing. It is inhuman. It is not science, it is poetry, which charms and consoles. That is why poetry is more necessary than science. King Loc, go and compose a song." King Loc went out of the well without speaking a word. And that is Chapter 16, which tells the marvelous adventure of George of the White Moor, and it is a marvelous adventure, and it leaves us wondering just what King Loc will do with his newfound knowledge. Luckily, we won't have to wait long to find out. We'll find out next time, in Chapter 17, in which King Loc makes a terrible journey. This is Dan Scholz for the Folktale Project. Don't forget that you can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play, Overcast, anywhere you like to get your podcasts. You can follow us on Twitter at Folktale Project. You can find us on Auto Radio, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, Spotify, anywhere you like to listen. And you can always head over to folktaleproject.com, where you'll find a new story waiting for you every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. As always, thank you so much for listening.